It's my nerd world. Welcome to it, a Star Wars show, and on this week's episode, StarWars.com has been giving us updates on expectations for Star Wars Celebration and the events going on there. What this means as far as the announcements that we may or may not be getting. I'll share with you the details and my thoughts. At Star Wars Celebration in May, it will be the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. Talk a little bit about that. I've made it no secret on the show how much I absolutely love Attack of the Clones. Plus, what you should be watching right now. Just wrapped up watching a particular Star Wars series with my son and had a really unique experience, and I wanted to share it with you and maybe encourage you to check it out yourself, and also a few other suggestions. Thank you so much for being with a Star Wars show here on My Nerd World. Let's go ahead and get right to it.
Nothing will stand in our way.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I will finish what you started.
Who are you? I'm no one.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
The Force. It's calling to you.
My Nerd World.
Just let it in.
It is a Star Wars show, and I am your host, Jon Justice. Glad you are with another episode. I want to remind you that if you're listening to this up on YouTube, please subscribe and like the channel. Make sure that you're already subscribed to the podcast. And if you have Star Wars friends or fans, well, no, if you have friends that are fans or family that are fans, share the podcast with them. If you enjoy it, they know you. Maybe they'll enjoy it too. So just wanted to do a little bit of encouragement to spreading the love of my nerd world around to everybody that you possibly can. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. Not a lot happening this week in terms of Star Wars. We have a lot of news coming out of StarWars.com. There's one bit of spoilery thing we can share. It's not anything specific to content within a show, just about what we may or may not be getting very, very soon. But not a lot of leaks, and most of the information we're getting is really in preparation for Star Wars Celebration late in May. So I'll share with you what StarWars.com has put up this week and give you my thoughts and kind of expectations of where my head is at and what we may or may not be getting. Kicking things off on the show this week, first article from StarWars.com. Join Lucasfilm's filmmakers and special guests for a look at what's coming soon to a galaxy near you. Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2022 will kick off on Thursday with a panel that will be long remembered. Launching with a must-see showcase that will kick the weekend's festivities into hyperdrive on Thursday, May 26th. Lucasfilm current crop of live-action filmmakers will be joined by special guests to discuss the many Star Wars adventures coming soon, including Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, more about that later, and The Mandalorian. So this is, apart from the actor panels, which we are expecting as well, for Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, possibly Obi-Wan Kenobi, plus the voice actors for Bad Batch. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. I do believe that this particular panel is going to be the one where we will be getting, at least I'm hoping we're getting some movie news. The state of Star Wars, and especially Disney and Lucasfilm, at least in my opinion, is really kind of weird right now. Disney put out, and I guess that was, late 2019, 2020 is when this was, when they did the big Disney Plus event, showcasing all of the upcoming programs and projects coming up with Disney Plus and expectations for the next few years. And a part of that was the big Kathleen Kennedy hosted Star Wars portion of that. And at the time, it very much had that marveled Kevin Feige feel. I was listening to Star Wars Underworld this week, and they had brought it up, and I thought it was spot on, that we need to have one of these types of moments again. And what I find most fascinating is that we had that Kathleen Kennedy hosted event a couple of years ago. And since then, some of the stuff has happened, but a lot of stuff hasn't. So we don't know what's going on with Rangers of the New Republic. Been a lot of talk that it's been canceled because Gina Carano was fired, and it may have been largely it may have been centered around her. Be that as it may, I don't think there was ever an official cancellation, but Rangers of the New Republic was one. We hadn't heard anything about Lando until recently with Donald Glover's appearance on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, where he alluded to after Jimmy Kimmel, said, "Hey, you're working on Star Wars," and he was like, "Oh, am I?" And I believe that we'll probably get some Lando news coming up at Star Wars Celebration as well. But in terms of movies, at that event that Kathleen Kennedy hosted, we found out about Rogue One, which we know has been put off to the side. Nothing's been updated on that. There was a lot of talk that we would get an announcement of a movie to replace Rogue One at the end of next year, and that never happened. A lot of rumors going around about what that movie could be. Something prequels, Old Republic maybe, but then nothing. No official announcement had come. We had news of the Taika Waititi film, the Star Wars movie that he was working on, that included a rather interesting-looking Star Wars logo and had a piece of concept art that looked similar to the Mortis planet from the Mortis arc of Clone Wars, but we really haven't heard anything official about that since then. In my opinion, Disney needs to do a good, solid reset and then hopefully not have the same issues that they had in the past. Or at least have those issues not become as such big topics within the fandom and the public sphere. The running joke now when it comes to Star Wars, especially around fans and film production, is the fact that so many people have been let go of their gigs. And these projects never came to fruition. We had the game of, I could try to rattle them off, but I'm sure I'm going to miss one. We had the Benioff and Weiss Game of Thrones guys. They were supposed to do something. That never happened. We had the announcement of Rian Johnson's trilogy. That's never been officially called off, but we haven't heard really anything solid about that since that announcement a number of years ago. We know about Josh Trank and the Boba Fett movie that, he never ended up doing. We had the two directors, Lord and Miller. They ended up leaving Solo. All right, we had what happened with Patty Jenkins in Rogue One. Don't know if she's still doing it or not, but know that they had to put it on hold because supposedly she was supposed to go and do Cleopatra. And there was another one top of mind. Oh, and then of course, even within Rogue One had its share of controversy where 70% of the trailer wasn't even what we ended up seeing in the movie. They had to bring in Tony Gilroy to clean things up. There was a bunch of reshoots and changes to what Gareth Edwards had originally created. And, this causes a lot of sort of turmoil and drives a lot of negativity when it comes to the projects that do get completed. Not so much the live action stuff, because the live action content at the moment seems to be fairly immune from major controversy, apart from Book of Boba Fett, which I think while it did well on streaming, a lot of fans, kind of were lukewarm on, and including myself. But all of those little controversies within these projects that never took off, or directors that were changed. Oh, of course, yeah. Ron Howard taking over for Solo. I got halfway there with that with that one. It drives a lot of the controversy around the stuff that does get created, and I think that's part of the reason why The Rise of Skywalker ended up getting so much baggage attached to it, was because, of course, Colin Trevorrow was supposed to do The Rise of Skywalker. They'd gone into full pre-production, even has art. We got a big chunk of the story, and the script got leaked out much after the fact, and J.J. Abrams came in, and they had to push the date on it, and now a lot of people look at The Rise of Skywalker as being this doing that thing with my fingers rushed project, where they just kind of lump it in with all of the other controversies and use that as an excuse to, as to why they didn't think it was better than it could be. And that's never even been fully reported on, like legitimized. It was clear that there was a switch in directors and there was a change in the timeline of when The Rise of Skywalker was supposed to be released, but I don't believe that it was ever fully commented on in public that the movie was rushed more so than any other Star Wars project. So getting back to Celebration, I really do hope that they're able to lay out a timeline of upcoming projects, including film projects, that will actually stick. And I've said many times, and this is very personal, just my own personal opinion, is that I think Star Wars serves itself best on the big screen in concise storytelling or trilogies. That's where I think Star Wars soars, in my opinion. I like the live-action streaming shows, and I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan, and I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to be very interesting in terms of how that story plays out and how much filler there is, or how much filler does it look like there's going to be, considering the fact that was supposed to originally be a movie. And that's another good example, too, that people already have preconceived notions, and even I'm sharing one with you right now of potential expectations that Obi-Wan Kenobi may feel like it's drawn out because it was supposed to be a movie. And I don't want to go in thinking that, and I'm going to try to go in not thinking that. I'm just as excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially after that trailer, as the next person. But, we all know as fans that if we follow this news that was originally supposed to be a 2.5 hour film. So I hope the Star Wars Celebration is a gigantic reset for Disney and for Lucasfilm, and they can perhaps move forward with less controversy, and that in and of itself will provide more positivity within the fandom. Continuing on with the news about Star Wars Celebration, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni will talk about The Mandalorian at Celebration, and this again is a part of the past, present, and future of Disney series and that May event that we talked about. But they get into a little bit more detail. There's going to be a panel called Mando Plus, a conversation with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and that's going to take place on Saturday, actually, so there's two separate ones. So, StarWars.com, let me back up here a little bit, because I conflated two of these different panels going on. So the first panel that I mentioned, where I hope the reset and timeline of future projects and movies take place, will happen on Thursday, and I can't wait to watch all of this at home, because I can't be there. And then throughout the weekend, we have other panels, including on Saturday, because I think Friday will probably be devoted to Obi-Wan Kenobi. People will have seen it by then. More than likely, they'll show it for the attendees at Star Wars Celebration, and we'll probably end up getting a panel with the actors involved in that show. But again, Jon Favreau and executive producer Dave Filoni will make their first Star Wars Celebration appearance since the premiere of Mandalorian. The panel is called Mando Plus, a conversation with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. It's going to take place on Saturday, and will feature the duo along with special guests for a look back and a look ahead at what's to come. So we could end up potentially getting a sizzle reel. I think we're a little too early in wrapping of the show to get a trailer, although maybe we'll get something. Didn't talk about this on last week's show, but it was fairly well known within the public that Mandalorian Season 3 had wrapped up filming. And there was several individuals involved in the project. Directors and actors had tweeted out swag showing Mandalorian Season 3 and saying that it had wrapped at this point in time. So I would expect if we were to see anything, maybe concept art for Season 3 of The Mandalorian, or perhaps, a short sizzle reel. Who knows? Also happening, the creative forces behind The Bad Batch, a fall in with Star Wars, The Bad Batch at Star Wars Celebration. The creative forces behind the acclaimed animated series will headline a panel on the final day of Star Wars Celebration Anaheim on Sunday, May 29th. You can join host David Collins as he invites Star Wars Bad Batch executive producers Brad Rau and Jen Corbett, who will also serve as supervising director and head writer, respectively, a story editor, actors D. Bradley Baker, Michelle Ang. D. Bradley Baker does all the voices for the Bad Batch. Michelle Ang does the voice of Omega, to discuss highlights from the first season of the acclaimed series, as well as some exciting hints of what's to come in Season 2. And we don't know when the Bad Batch is coming for Season 2 yet. There was, and there continues to be talk that perhaps it's going to happen after Obi-Wan Kenobi, before Andor. I would imagine that's the only place. I guess here's the deal. The only place where it could fall is if they dropped it before Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I don't think is happening. As a matter of fact, based off of the panel there, I can guarantee that's not happening. So it either happens after Obi-Wan Kenobi, before Andor, or after Andor, before Mandalorian Season 3, which will most likely air close to the same time that the Book of Boba Fett did at the end of the year in December, going into January. One of the things we have heard, and it's a bit of, I guess, is a bit of leaked news, but the second season, from what the rumors are, the second season of The Bad Batch will take place. There'll be a bit of a time jump, and so we'll actually get an older Omega. We'll get an older Omega in The Bad Batch Season 2. Which is interesting to me. If you're going to do a time jump with The Bad Batch, there's going to need to be some filling in of what had transpired in that time. Just considering the position of those characters within the series and how they are conducting themselves and how they were conducting themselves. And especially given sort of the finale of The Bad Batch as well. So I'm sure we'll end up learning more about that here in the next month and a half. All right. Lastly, we do have a bit of leaked news. Not a huge deal. It does have to do with Star Wars Celebration, but Bespin Bulletin put this out late in the week. Just last week, they write, Andor star Adria Arjona from a Morbius and Pacific Rim Uprising revealed to Screen Rant that she would be in attendance at Star Wars Celebration, telling the outlet, "Oh, I'm going." When asked about the event, which piqued my interest, as I had previously heard a number of weeks ago that a trailer or a teaser trailer for Andor is currently being worked on and could be released at the event. But I am unsure if the trailer would be released publicly or just shown to those in the room, like what happened in 2019 for The Mandalorian. I always like to be transparent with my readers, Bespin Bulletin says, so I'll add that I only heard this from a singular source, hence why I did not run it as its own story and was hoping to get more confirmation. And my readers know, says Bespin Bulletin, I like to have multiple sources corroborating information before I report. But if I do, then I'll be sure to let you know. My expectation is that there will probably be an Andor teaser or trailer, but it'll probably be just for those attending Star Wars Celebration and not put out to the public. That doesn't mean that there won't be leaked awful cell phone footage of it, but considering what the trend has been for trailer releases of live-action Star Wars shows and Obi-Wan Kenobi just kicking off, on top of what will most likely be, at least I'm hoping that's the case, some big announcements of projects that we haven't heard of before. We have the leaked info that we've talked about on the show of the alleged High Republic show that has the production title of Grammar Rodeo. We're more than likely going to get details on that. There was a rumor that came out this week that Jude Law, the actor, has been hired to be in a Star Wars show. And a lot of people speculating that it could be this High Republic show that I just mentioned, but it could be something else. So, back to my point, I expect there to be a lot of announcements coming out of this, and the big story from Celebration is going to be, and within the fandom beyond Celebration, will be Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think that Star Wars is going to want to overshadow that with something like a teaser trailer for Andor to the public. To attendees, yes, but not to the public. And I would expect that we would end up getting that teaser after Obi-Wan Kenobi. Andor is an interesting one in terms of the live-action series because I feel like it's flying under the radar but has the potential to be huge. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show spread beyond the fandom and got out into more of the public zeitgeist beyond Star Wars fans. I think most everybody knows, even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan, even if you're just an individual that saw the original trilogy or maybe went to the theater once and saw the movies one time or the prequels one time, but you don't watch them all the time like a person like me. When you hear about an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, you know what people are talking about. So, and even people that aren't Star Wars fans. Andor is a different deal. There hasn't been a lot of discussion of Andor in the public. It is, I think, anticipated by the fans, but at the same time, there hasn't been a lot of leaks going on about it in terms of details of what to expect. It's been the announcement of Andor has been out there since the start of Disney Plus, for crying out loud. I mean, that thing was announced, a couple of years ago. And we even had a sizzle reel a couple of years ago that didn't even really show anything. My point in all this is that Rogue One is still immensely popular and growing in popularity within the fandom and within the public. It is constantly trending on Twitter. Even just before I started the show today, Rogue One was trending. And it usually pops up because somebody makes a comment about how much they love Rogue One, and then it ends up trending. And today, it was James Gunn, the Guardians of the Galaxy director, did the Suicide Squad film, and he tweeted out that he felt that Rogue One was was the best new generation, post Disney buying Lucasfilm Star Wars film, and it got it trending. And people are out there tweeting about how they feel like this is the some people saying it's underrated, other people saying it's not underrated because it's fairly well known that most of the fandom loves that movie. A lot of people arguing that Rogue One has a distinction within all of the post-Disney buying Lucasfilm releases of being the one that fans kind of universally all love for the most part. And I think there's some truth to that without actually seeing numbers. It might be a close race with Force Awakens. Obviously, The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi you got to put off to the side as their own. In terms of popularity, there's a difference there. But in terms of how much of the fandom loves a particular film, I think Rogue One is up there of the Disney era. I say all of that because I think when that first Andor trailer does get released and we get our first glimpse as to what this show is going to be about, I think you're going to see the attention and the excitement explode about the possibility for this show. I think there is I feel like Andor is the sleeping giant in Disney's arsenal that they're going to unleash that is going to be a massive, massive hit just because of what I said, because of how well loved Rogue One actually is. But again, Andor in and of itself doesn't really spark anything apart from the individual playing in the movie. So I don't think it really has gotten a lot of attention yet, but when that first footage hits, I absolutely expect it. As always, what are your thoughts? TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. You can also drop me an email. Sorry, that is the email. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment up on YouTube. So before I wrap the show up this week, I just wanted to offer up some watching suggestions for you. And really, I just wanted to talk for a moment about Rebels. My son Kyle and I spent the past couple of weeks doing a rewatch of Rebels, and basically it amounted to on Friday and Saturday nights as my wife heads off to bed, early, like around 9:00. She likes to get a good solid 8-hour sleep. Kyle will join me for about an hour. We watch 2 episodes of Rebels, and when he was getting home from school during the work week, we watched 2 episodes of Rebels, and we basically worked through the entire 4-series run in a matter of a couple weeks. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The story in Rebels is some of the best modern era Star Wars storytelling that they've produced. Watching it consistently over the course of the past few weeks, I fell in love with the show all over again. It's different than Clone Wars, and I almost feel like it's unfair to compare it to Clone Wars, apart from them both being Star Wars and both being animated features. They're different in their own right. They play out differently in terms of storyline. I think that the Season 7 of Clone Wars is also some of the best storytelling. Those last 4 episodes that they did were just absolutely incredible. But the story in Rebels, and especially that 4th season, it hits every single Star Wars note. For a person, for any fan, regardless of what it is that you're looking for in Star Wars, it's there. Your romance is there. It's light, but it's absolutely there between Kanan and Hera, and certainly, emotionally and tragically pays off in the end. If you like your space battles and your action, it's got all of that. In season 4, there's one episode, and I can't remember the name of it, where they're making this run on Lothal to attack the Empire, and the rebellion has to take on a bunch of Star Destroyers and the Empire fleet above the planet, and it's one of the most incredible space battles that Star Wars has ever created. My favorite space battle ever is the Attack on the Death Star Special Edition from A New Hope, and this definitely has that kind of vibe to it. You can tell some of those shots, the way they were crafted, were meant to echo a lot of what we saw in A New Hope. There's a ton of stuff that you can tell they lifted from Rebels to put into Rogue One. And again, the Force element to it, expanding on the Force within that show, just absolutely incredible and ambiguous too. That's one thing that I really appreciate about Rebels, is that they do not go out of their way to explain everything. Just like the original trilogy didn't go out of its way to explain everything. They don't have to. You leave just some things left unresolved, and it's great because of that. And the ending is fantastic. And the other reason why, especially if you've never watched Rebels, the other reason why is that if you're looking forward to the live action shows that are coming up, that are placed in the timeline, like your Mandalorian, like your Ahsoka, after the events of the original trilogy, you want to watch Rebels, especially with Ahsoka coming up next year. For those that haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything at all, but I will tell you that after we finished watching it, and we watched it, I think we probably watched the whole thing a couple of times, watching each episode every single time. This was the first time I've ever actually sat down over the course of a few weeks and just watched it from beginning to end, which I'm going to be doing more often now. But, if there's things that you've seen in live action content with Ahsoka and you're scratching your head and wanting to know what's going on, or you want to know some backstory about what you can expect from the Ahsoka show next year, you have to watch Rebels. And when it wrapped up, as I was going to say, my son Kyle was like, "How long do we have to wait now for Ahsoka?" Because he wants to see what happens next. So I can't sing the praises of Rebels nearly enough. Lastly, the other thing I want to encourage you to watch, do yourself a favor. If you haven't, watch the documentaries, The Director and the Jedi, that's attached to The Last Jedi. And both of these are available on the Disney Plus streaming app. And or watch the Skywalker Saga documentary for The Rise of Skywalker. Especially if you don't like one or both of those films. If you enjoy watching documentaries, let's say that. Okay, because there's a lot of people don't like, my wife doesn't like watching documentaries. I love watching behind-the-scenes documentaries. But if you're not a fan of either of those movies, but you like watching documentaries, I would definitely encourage you to go and watch them, because I think that it provides a level of insight that you don't get, and it adds a lot of context to decisions that are made in those films. At least for me, it does. Now, I guess I'm biased in suggesting this because I love both The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. And the documentary for The Force Awakens one is The Journey to the Force Awakens. All three of the documentaries for the sequel trilogies are just fantastic. But for those that don't like those films, but if you like the documentaries, go and watch the documentary. I'm not going to sit here and say that you'll end up loving The Last Jedi if you watch The Director and the Jedi, and I'm not going to say you're going to end up loving The Rise of Skywalker or the decisions that it made if you go and watch that. It does, however, go and provide context to, like I said, decisions made in those films, and on top of that, I personally love seeing the dedication and devotion that every single individual that is a part of those projects puts into those films. And it gives me an added level of appreciation for these movies that I already adore and love. So, again, do yourself a favor. Watch or rewatch Rebels, and watch the documentaries, especially for The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, especially if you don't like one or both of those films. I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right. That's it. Thank you so much for checking out the show this week. Before I let you go, as always, if you want to support My Nerd World, a Star Wars podcast, and you like to read, I hope you'll check out my EMBARK space opera series. The seventh book and the final book in the series, for now, the final book in the series, Battle Planet, is with my copy editor and editor and should be back in the next week or so. I currently have April 26th slated for the release for EMBARK Battle Planet Book 7. It is available for pre-order in ebook right now at Amazon.com. So if you want to go and pre-order it early, feel free. Go and grab it up at Amazon.com. Search for Jon, Jon Justice, and you can go and purchase it there. If you are listening to the show for the first time and are thinking, what is this series? I wanted to create a space opera. I wanted to know what it was like to create my own universe and characters like George Lucas did. I was inspired by him. So I created my EMBARK series, and I was intending on writing just one book, and I loved the experience so much and had more stories to tell that turned into 7 books. For book 1, Katha's father passed away 1 year ago. Yesterday, he gave her the key to saving humanity. She just doesn't know it yet. When Katha Morrow uncovers a cryptic message left behind by her late aerospace engineer father with the help of fellow pilot Taft Guardia, she makes a shocking discovery. Her excitement quickly turns to fear when they learn that an industrial accident inside the largest civilian and military spacecraft factory has set off an apocalyptic chain of events. As war erupts during the global evacuation, Katha realizes the significance of what she's found, and so does the enemy. Interstellar travel isn't what she imagined as Katha and Taft are being hunted for the power in their possession. While Earth's evacuees stand upon the brink of annihilation, Katha Morrow faces her destiny and might be humanity's only hope for survival among the stars. The entire series is available in ebook, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook. You can pick up book 1 in ebook for just 99 cents, and you can pick up the opening trilogy of the first 3 books in the series, which does complete a story arc for just $3.99. So head on over to Amazon.com and search for Jon, Jon Justice, and EMBARK, and pick yourself up a copy. All right, that wraps everything up for this week. We'll be back again next week with the latest news and leaks. Until then, I hope to hear from you at TalkShowNerd@gmail.com or leave a comment up on YouTube. Bye.
The Force will be with you, always.
My Nerd World.